Chapter 31 The First Mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Early the next morning, Che got a mission notification. Shikaku Nara had accepted a job that required all three of them. Curious about the mission, Che changed and headed out. Kurenai and Asuma had received the same notification. They all arrived at the Nara residence around the same time. While the Nara clan wasn't the biggest in Konoha, they were pretty well established. The three of them standing at the gate of the Nara compound was a bit conspicuous. Luckily, the guard announced them, and Nara Shikaku emerged with a strange smile that made Che uneasy. Che's gut feeling was right. Shikaku announced the mission. It was a C-rank mission Shikaku himself had issued, patrolling the Nara family's deer preserve, Nara Forest in the Land of Fire, the Nara clan's ancestral land. Shikaku said, "There's no danger involved, so I'm skipping it. Someone will lead you to the Nara Forest. You just need to stay within the assigned area for a month and patrol. Don't worry, nobody's really after the Nara clan's land. Go back and pack your things." Che was disappointed. It had sounded interesting at first, but it turned out to be a risk-free babysitting gig. Kurenai, on the other hand, was looking forward to it. She'd heard the Nara deer farm had tons of deer, and she loved cute animals. As Che and the others left, Nara Shikaku headed back inside. A clan elder said disapprovingly, "Shikaku, you pawned off another family assignment. Are you that unwilling to contribute to the clan? Besides, Shikaba is off-limits to outsiders. Only Nara clan members are allowed in." Lujio waved him off. "I'm a Konoha Jonin now, so Konoha comes first. Besides, isn't passing on the assignment a contribution in itself? Those three are not just my students, they're the future of Konoha." "Do you doubt Konoha's future?" The elder was silenced and stormed off. Lujio watched him go and sighed, "What a pain." A young Nara ninja found Che and his team one by one. His name was Nara Shimizu. He had a black ponytail and dark circles under his eyes. He looked exhausted. Nara Shimizu said, "I'll take you to the deer farm. I'll be your contact for the month." "Ugh, this is such a hassle. Shikaku always dumps these tasks on me." All three of them sensed Nara Shimizu's deep resentment and couldn't help but feel sorry for him. "Man, our teacher really is a troublemaker," Che said. That afternoon, Nara Shimizu led Che, Kurenai, and Asuma to a forest deep in the Land of Fire, the famous Nara Forest. It was home to many deer and countless wild animals, and they grew valuable medicinal herbs there. It was one of the Nara family's most prized assets. This forest helped the Nara family nearly monopolize the medicine business in Konoha and even the Land of Fire. The Nara forest was vast, so Che and the others couldn't possibly patrol the whole thing. In fact, Shikaku's assigned area was less than 1% of the forest. Even so, it would still take Che and the others a while to patrol, not to mention staying vigilant all the time. No wonder Lujio wanted to avoid it. Nara Shimizu led the three of them to a small cabin and said, "This is where you'll be staying for the month. There are some supplies inside. There's a small town north of the forest. If you run out of anything, you can buy more there and charge it to the Nara family's account. Just show them your mission voucher. Oh, and they'll be collecting antlers in a couple of days. You guys don't know the shadow imitation technique, but you can still help me catch some extra deer. I'll collect the antlers in 2 days and pay you extra, based on how many you help catch. Here's a map of the forest. It's huge, so be careful you don't get lost. That's all. I'm out of here." Nara Shimizu left after giving his instructions. Che touched his nose and sighed, "This first mission isn't what I expected." Che had heard Kakashi complain about boring village tasks before, so he was somewhat prepared. He could accept catching cats and dogs, though he'd hoped for something to improve his combat skills. But this mission was about patrolling for a month, and they even had a place to stay. It was fun in the sense that it was just walking in the forest and catching deer. It was boring in the sense that it was easier than catching cats and dogs. Either way, it wasn't what he expected. Kurenai and Asuma felt the same way. The three of them went inside the cabin and found it was more modern than they imagined, with electric lights, a gas stove, a refrigerator, and a water heater. They were relieved. They'd gotten used to the convenient life in Konoha. Their only complaint was that the cabin was small and only had one bed. I've never lived in such a small place. Sarutobi Asuma said, shaking his head. The same was true for Yuhihi Kurenai. Her family wasn't as big as the Sarutobis, but they still lived in a villa in the village center. Che was the only one who had lived in real poverty. Before he was 5, Che had lived in a rundown house in a small town in the Land of Fire. It was about the same size as the cabin, and almost completely empty, Che said. Complaining won't help. The bed is only big enough for one. Hong, you take the bed, and Asuma and I will sleep on the floor. Okay. Che looked at Asuma, who shook his head. Even as the Hokage's son, he wouldn't be so petty as to fight a girl for a bed. Hong was initially embarrassed, but realized that if she didn't take the bed, she'd have to sleep with the boys. So, she nodded slightly, suppressing what she wanted to say. The three of them unpacked and cleaned the place together. Hong wiped her forehead, put her hands on her hips, and surveyed their work. Not bad. It finally looks livable. Che also laid out the floor, and he and Asuma lay down to try it out. There was just enough space. Hong looked at them and couldn't help laughing. She said, "Thanks for your hard work this month. Don't worry, I'll be in charge of meals, and I'll make it worth your while." Che lay on the floor and gave a silent thumbs up. Asuma burst out laughing. Hong then checked the refrigerator and decided on the night's menu: radish, potatoes, onions, and baby bok choy. Che sat up. No meat? Asuma also sat up. The Nara are known for their vegetables, but isn't that a bit much? Hong opened the refrigerator and showed them. It was all vegetables. Che hadn't expected there to be no meat. Che immediately said, "Let me go hunting so we can have some meat." Kurenai and Asuma both objected. Asuma said, "Nara Shimizu didn't say we could hunt. If we cause trouble, we'll be in trouble." Hong said, "Let me go to town to buy some. You two can patrol." Che reluctantly gave up on hunting for now, and with that, the three of them divided the work and cooperated. Hong went to town to buy supplies, while Che and Asuma stayed in the forest to patrol and catch deer on the side. Chapter 32 Competition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Che and Asuma patrolled the forest, scouting for deer. After a full sweep, they hadn't spotted a single one. Asuma was confused. Che explained, "Deer usually hang out deeper in the woods. They're skittish and prefer to stay away from predators. We're on the edge of the forest right now, so the chances of finding deer are slim. But no worries, they'll come out to feed at dusk. There's plenty of water and grass here, so we should see some deer showing up to chow down." Che hopped onto a large tree branch, and Asuma followed suit. They kept watch, waiting for the deer to appear. As evening approached, a distant deer call echoed through the trees. Che and Asuma exchanged glances, then went quiet, trying to make as little noise as possible as they moved toward the sound. Sure enough, they spotted a small herd, 6 male deer, all sporting impressive antlers. Che touched the rope at his waist and whispered, "Let's grab as many as we can." The bucks below, sensing something, looked around cautiously, but didn't look up. Satisfied that no predators were nearby, they lowered their heads to graze on the fresh grass and wild berries. Che and Asuma waited patiently for the deer to completely relax, then jumped down together. The herd scattered instantly, the bucks taking off at top speed. They were too fast for anyone to catch. It's pretty hard to catch them without hurting them. No wonder the Nara clan, who've raised deer for generations, developed that shadow possession jutsu to catch them. Asuma chased after one deer, quickly disappearing into the distance. Che seized the opportunity, forming a hand sign and casting a shadow spell. Using the long shadows of the dusk forest, he instantly trapped the remaining 5 deer. Both Che and the deer were now immobile, but Che knew the shadow clone technique, which he'd been pretending to learn from Fugaku, so he could use it openly now. Che created a shadow clone, picked up the rope from his waist, and tied up the 5 deer. The main Che then released the shadow spell, took the rope from the clone, and connected the 5 deer together. He calmly led the front deer, and the herd followed along grazing. Since he hadn't been hurt, the deer continued to eat as if nothing had happened. After all, a full belly is a top priority. By the time Asuma returned, panting and holding a single deer, Che saw that the other 5 had been munching on grass for a while. Asuma, looking shocked, asked, "How did you catch these 5? Che replied, only half joking, my shadow clone. Asuma accepted this explanation, put down his deer, looped a rope around its neck, and pulled it along. The two of them each held their deer and continued patrolling, but before long, the 6 deer seemed unwilling to go any further, resisting their handler's pull. Knowing it was best not to force it, Che and Asuma tied the deer to a tree. The two continued their patrol. On the way, Asuma suddenly said, Uchiha Che, let's have a competition. Che was surprised, since he hadn't had much interaction with Asuma since entering the ninja academy, and had always sensed Asuma's dislike. He looked at Asuma, puzzled. Asuma immediately explained, I've been tossing and turning lately, and I feel like you've become a nightmare in my life. You know, I first fell for Kurenai when I saw her. I wanted to go after her, but you beat me to it. After you stole my girl, I threw myself into training, wanting to surpass you in strength. But I found out my ninja skills are no match for yours. Even Kakashi, who I've always wanted to beat, lost to you. So what I want now is a fair fight, so that even if I lose, I can accept it. In the uninhabited forest, Asuma opened up to Che for the first time. Che was silent for a moment, making Asuma nervous. Thankfully, Che's next words eased Asuma's worries. Okay, what should we compete in? We'll compete twice, and we each get to pick a topic. If there's no clear winner, we'll go to Kurenai and have her decide the third game. Asuma said smoothly, as if he'd rehearsed it 1,000 times. Alright, I'll pick the first game. Che thought for a moment, then bent down, picked up a rock, and said, the first game is a stone-throwing contest. Throwing stones? Asuma was confused. Che explained, stones are one of humanity's earliest weapons. They were originally used for hunting. But since we can't go hunting animals in the Nara forest, we'll see who can throw a stone the farthest. No chakra or other tricks allowed. And we have to use the same rock. Asuma looked enlightened and immediately agreed. Che handed the stone to Asuma, then drew a line on the ground with his foot and said, this is the starting line. You go first. Asuma stood behind the starting line, gripped the stone tightly, warmed up a bit, then threw it hard. The stone flew in a graceful arc. There was a thud in the distance, and the stone landed in the grass. Che said, go get the stone and throw it back, then stand still so I can throw it. Asuma did as he was told. Che picked up the return stone, went back to the starting line, and adopted a standard stone-throwing stance. Then, with a grunt, he whipped his arm forward, and the stone shot out. The stone whizzed past Asuma, close enough for him to feel the air pressure. It landed dozens of yards beyond Asuma's throw. Che had won the first match. Che hadn't used chakra or any fancy techniques. He'd relied entirely on his past life experience and raw strength to make that killer throw. Che remembered stoning a black bear to death during a hunting trip back then. What's the second game? Che asked. Asuma drew his 2 chakra blades and said, kunai throwing. And this time, I can use chakra. Chapter 33 Untying the Knot. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. This isn't about who can throw the farthest, it's a power contest. The rule's simple, channel your chakra into a knife and throw it at that big tree. Whoever makes the bigger impact wins. Asuma clarified the details of the second challenge. Che readily agreed. Each grabbed a chakra-infused knife and began channeling their energy. This time, Che didn't copy Asuma's technique with his 6 eyes. He relied on his own instincts to infuse the chakra. Che opted for lightning chakra, believing it to be the most destructive of the 5 basic elements. Asuma chose wind chakra, his area of expertise. Once ready, they hurled their chakra knives almost simultaneously. Their target, a massive tree, so wide it took 2 people to encircle it. Asterisk thwack, asterisk boom. 2 distinct sounds echoed. As each knife inflicted significant damage, one knife cleanly pierced the tree trunk, leaving the hole no wider than the blade itself. The other struck the trunk with a resounding impact, creating a bowl-sized crater surrounded by scorch marks. Asuma threw the former, Che the latter. Che and Asuma stepped forward to examine their handiwork. Both were surprised by the other's strength. Asuma's wind blade possessed incredible penetrating power, while Che's lightning blade delivered devastating destructive force. It was a close call. but then, Che pulled out Asuma's chakra knife and conceded, "You win, Asuma." Asuma followed Che's gaze and noticed a rock, cleanly sliced in half by the force of the wind blade. Relief washed over Asuma. "Alright then, let's go find Kurenai. It's getting late." Che nodded. They led the deer back to the cabin, tying them up outside. Soon, Kurenai returned with a bag of groceries. Che explained the situation and asked her to come up with a new challenge. Kurenai clearly thought they were acting like a couple of overgrown kids. "Are you boys seriously still competing? Fine, then. Let's see who can prep the ingredients for dinner fastest. We're having potato stew tonight. One of you chops the potatoes, the other cuts the beef into chunks. I'll just go feed the deer." Kurenai handed Che a bag of groceries and went to admire the deer. Looking at them with curiosity, Che and Asuma headed inside and grabbed the potatoes and beef. Che asked, "Which one do you want?" Asuma considered it. "I'll take the beef." Che happily handed him the beef, while he started washing the potatoes. With everything ready, the competition was on. To keep things fair, they'd share a cutting board. Since there was only one kitchen knife, Asuma's chakra knife would have to do double duty. Che grabbed 4 palm-sized potatoes, bigger than Asuma's hand. The piece of beef was a good size, not too big or too small. They counted down, 3, 2, 1, go, chop, 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 star. Che wielded the chakra knife, slicing the potatoes with rapid precision. The cutting board clattered as the potatoes were quickly reduced to thick slices, then smaller pieces. Asuma worked much more quietly. A closer look revealed he was channeling sharp, wind-attribute chakra into the knife. This allowed him to slice through the beef like butter, keeping pace with Che's potato-chopping frenzy. They finished at the same time. Just then, Kurenai opened the door, complaining, "Why will only one of these deer eat the grass? Hey, you're already done." "Who was faster?" "About the same," Che and Asuma replied. Kurenai walked into the kitchen and began inspecting their work. Then, she noticed something odd and stared at Asuma's beef. Looking closer, she understood. Kurenai tried to lift the cutting board, but only managed to pick up a wooden section. She pushed the board, and the whole thing fell apart. Asuma had not only cut the beef but also the cutting board in half. Kurenai sighed. "We only have 2 cutting boards." "Seriously? You couldn't even cut the beef without destroying the board? Are you that impatient?" Asuma hung his head, avoiding eye contact. Alright, you two. Knock it off. I'll clean up this mess. You just wait for dinner." With that, Che and Asuma were banished from the cabin. Outside, Asuma saw the moon peeking through the trees, and a sudden wave of melancholy washed over him, making him want a cigarette. "I lost," Asuma said. "Yep, you did. But it's 2-1, so you're not doing too bad," Che replied. Asuma forced a wry smile. "Guess that's something to be proud of." Asuma had thought he could handle losing with grace, but now he realized how naive he'd been. Even knowing he'd lost to Uchiha Che, or for any other reason, it was still hard to swallow. Che spoke up suddenly. "I think Kurenai had a good point back there." Asuma frowned, then remembered Kurenai's words and murmured, "Am I too hasty?" "Yeah, I guess I am." Asuma fell silent for a long moment, then exhaled. "Oh, right. I was so desperate to get out of your shadow with these silly contests. Guess I was overthinking things." "You're still my lingering shadow," Asuma admitted, a smile playing on his lips. "But at least it shows I'm not totally useless. My wind style is still better than yours, right?" Asuma grinned at Che. Che nodded. "You definitely have me beat when it comes to wind chakra." Hearing that affirmation, a long-standing knot in Asuma's chest seemed to loosen. Asuma chuckled. "If you want to learn, I could teach you." Che readily agreed. "Then I'll teach you a move in return." Asuma raised an eyebrow. "Isn't that the move Minato-sensei uses? You didn't trade Kakashi for it, did you?" Che paused, then burst out laughing. "You're sharp. You guessed it. It's the Rasengan." But I still need Minato-sensei to sign off on it. Asuma accepted with a smile. With Asuma's heart opened, the conversation flowed easily, covering all sorts of topics. Do you like hunting? Never tried it. I can show you how to throw stones and use a bow, the two most useful hunting skills. Okay, then I'll teach you shogi. You like shogi? That's something old men play. You're one to talk, with your shamisen. Just then, Kurenai opened the cabin door and shouted, "Dinner's ready." Che and Asuma headed into the cabin and enjoyed the hearty meal together. Kurenai noticed the shift in their relationship. She was puzzled for a moment, thinking, boys are weird. That night, Uchiha Che and Sarutobi Asuma shared a bed, sleeping head to toe. Chapter 34 Feiyan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Early the next morning, a knock on the door woke them. Che and the others quickly packed their things and opened the door to find Nara Saltwater waiting outside. Sorry about this, Nara Saltwater said, holding a pork fan and looking apologetic. I used to live in this cabin, and I don't usually eat meat, so the fridge is just full of Nara vegetables. I was too busy yesterday to think of it, so let me make it up to you today. Kurenai Yuhi repeatedly thanked him as she took the pork fan. Nara Saltwater continued, You all caught the 6 deer outside, right? I'm here to collect the antlers. This is your reward. Che accepted the reward. Even though he and Asuma only helped catch the deer, the payoff was pretty generous. Antlers are worth a fortune, so their labor was clearly valued. Che inquired about hunting, and Nara Saltwater asked, Do you still have that map? Asuma went back into the cabin and grabbed the map. Nara Saltwater explained, There's a chart of the forest's resources on the back. Some of the animals here are raised by the Nara clan, so those are off limits. Anything else is fair game, as long as they're outside the enclosure. Che was excited to hear this. Besides the Nara's deer and other special animals, the forest was teeming with wild game. Nara Saltwater quickly excused himself, saying he had more work to do. Hong put the meat in the fridge, then came out and said, Someone needs to go to town for a cutting board today. Asuma sheepishly scratched his head. My bad, I broke it. I'll go get one. Che agreed, but added, and pick up a couple of bow and arrow sets. Actually, make that too. Asuma understood Che's plan and grinned. No problem. Asuma headed to town for the cutting board and bows and arrows, while Hong and Che went on patrol. You and Asuma are sleeping on the floor, all squished together. Is that comfortable? Hong asked. It's kind of a drag, Che admitted. Hong smiled teasingly. Well, you could always sleep on the bed with me. That's not entirely out of the question, Che said, deadpan. Hong was flustered by her own suggestion, her face turning as red as a beet. She quickly changed the subject. So, when did you and Asuma start getting along? You used to have such a hard time with him. We just had a few disagreements we never talked about, Che explained. But now that we're working together, everything's cool. Hong didn't quite understand, but nodded with relief. That's good. I was always worried about you two not getting along. After patrolling for a while, Che and Hong went back to the cabin to relax. Soon, Asuma returned with the supplies. He gave the cutting board to Hong and the 2 sets of bows and arrows to Che. Che strung a bow, notched an arrow, and tested it out. Not the greatest bow, but it'll do. Asuma shrugged. What can you do? There's only one shop in town that sells them. Hong stayed at the cabin to rest while Che and Asuma, eager to try out their new bows, set out on patrol. Alright, let's start with the basics, Che began. Left hand holds the bow, right hand holds the arrow. Knock the arrow like this, hold the tail with 3 fingers, grip the shaft with your index and middle fingers, get a good grip on the bow with your left hand, then draw back and release. Che demonstrated, taking aim with his bow and arrow, while Asuma watched intently. Che then aimed at a rabbit hopping around in the distance. With a whoosh, the arrow flew, hitting the rabbit square in the head. At that distance, hitting the rabbit at all would be impressive, but hitting that tiny head showed off Che's incredible skill. Asuma applauded in admiration. Che waved it off, saying, "It's nothing." Asuma tried to imitate Che, drawing his bow and aiming at a large tree. He released the arrow, but missed completely. Asuma gave an awkward smile, but Che didn't laugh. He redoubled his efforts and notched another arrow. This time, he took his time aiming, making sure he wouldn't miss. Thwack, the arrow hit the edge of the tree. Not a bullseye, but at least he hit something. Asuma lowered his bow, smiling with satisfaction. "Not bad," Che said. "Pretty accurate for your first time." "I need to practice more," Asuma said. "I want to get as good as you." "That's going to take some doing," Che replied. They both laughed. Asuma put down his bow and arrow, took out his chakra blade, and handed it to Che. "I promise to teach you how to use wind-style chakra. I've got some free time now, so let's get to it. The key to wind-style chakra is that it's thin and sharp," he explained. "Don't focus on power. Just refine the chakra to make it as thin and sharp as possible. Like this." Asuma channeled chakra into the blade, and it shimmered with a faint, wind-like aura. Che had to admit, Asuma was a master of wind-style techniques. Instead of using his 6 eyes to copy Asuma's technique, Che tried to imitate it based on Asuma's instructions. Che channeled his own chakra into the blade, and they both threw their chakra-infused blades at a tree. Asuma's blade sliced cleanly through the tree, while Che's barely penetrated halfway. "Not thin enough," Asuma observed. Che walked up and pulled out his blade, trying again. Still no 6 eyes. Channeling the wind-style chakra wasn't difficult, but keeping it thin and sharp, as Asuma described, was proving to be a challenge. Even without using his 6 eyes, Che wouldn't succeed on the first try, but he was learning quickly. This time, Che's chakra blade pierced the tree. Asuma was used to being amazed by Che's talent, but seeing him pick up his signature technique so quickly still stung. "I'm creating my own competition," he said playfully. "Don't worry," Che said, "the Rasengan will more than make up for it." Che pulled his chakra blade from the ground. "Does this knife have a name?" Asuma shook his head. "Never got around to it." Che said the name that had just popped into his head, Feiyan. "What do you think?" Asuma thought of the two of them throwing the chakra-infused blades, short daggers that flew like swallows through the air. Asuma took the knife handed over by Che and said, "It's a good name, I'll give it to you." The patrol mission in Nara Forest passed by in such a dull but interesting way day by day. Chapter 35 This is Youth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The mission wrapped up after a month. Che, Hong, and Asuma finished up and headed back to Konoha to give their report. After a month of working together, Asuma had really gotten to know Che and Hong. They actually looked like a team walking down the street. With the mission done, they went their separate ways. Che walked Hong home before heading to his own place. On the way, Che spotted a weirdo in green tights walking upside down. He knew instantly it was his classmate, Metkai. Metkai saw him too. Even upside down, Che's handsome face was hard to miss. Metkai planted one hand on the ground and waved with the other. "Long time no see, Che." Che waved back, "Yeah, just got back from a mission." Metkai perked up, "What a coincidence. I was just thinking about challenging you." He did a somersault and landed on his feet. Metkai was wearing a dark green sleeveless jumpsuit, his Konoha forehead protector tied around his waist, a ninja pouch strapped to his right leg, and a bright red scarf. His hands were wrapped in bandages, and orange weights were strapped to his ankles. He'd definitely changed his style since the academy, but his bowl cut and those crazy thick eyebrows. Still the same old Metkai, just looking a bit more like a real ninja. He flashed a huge, goofy grin, waiting for Che's answer. Che gave him the once-over with his 6 eyes, a little surprised. "You've gotten stronger." Che noticed Metkai's muscles were bigger, and he had more chakra than before. But his old problem was still there, he still struggled with ninjutsu. "But you still can't beat me," Che said calmly. He wasn't trying to be a jerk, just stating the facts. Metkai's taijutsu was good, sure, but nothing special. Not much different from his own, and Che could easily make up for any weakness in taijutsu with his massive chakra and jutsu power. Add in Che's ninjutsu and genjutsu, and Metkai didn't stand a chance. Metkai grinned, anything's possible. I used to think I could never beat Kakashi, but I've won twice lately. My record's 2-16 now. Of course, we're not doing any ninjutsu. Just taijutsu, okay. Che found it kind of amusing, so he agreed to Metkai's challenge. They headed to a training ground in Konoha. It was a rocky, barren area, perfect for a straight-up brawl. They faced each other on the dusty ground, the sun beating down. Metkai gave a thumbs up, his teeth gleaming in the sunlight, his green jumpsuit practically glowing. I'm ready. Metkai was hyped up. This was a fight against Uchiha Che, Konoha's prodigy. Che tossed a stone in the air. Start when it hits the ground. The stone sailed upwards, then started to fall. Bang, star, the stone hit the ground. They both moved at once, charging each other. He's fast. Metkai thought, surprised by Che's taijutsu skills. He was already struggling, fists and feet flew, landing with meaty thuds. Metkai threw a right hook. Che caught his fist and kneed him in the gut. The stomach is one of the most vulnerable parts of the body, and even Metkai, with his years of training, couldn't completely absorb the blow. Metkai braced himself, letting out a grunt he couldn't hold back. He stumbled back, then jumped, launching a series of powerful kicks. Che covered his head, blocking. Even Che needed to use his chakra to withstand that onslaught. Good power, but you need more, Che said. He actually smiled, like he was barely trying. Metkai grit his teeth, I won't lose in taijutsu. Konoha whirlwind. Metkai spun in the air, bringing his leg down in a powerful kick. Che dodged, but the force of Metkai's attack cracked the rocky ground, sending dust flying. Seeing the raw power, Che was impressed. Metkai, I underestimated you. I thought you had a limited future, but now I think you could be as good as Kakashi. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Metkai shouted through the dust. A heavy thud marked Metkai's landing. He moved like a blur. He was in front of Che in an instant. The sun cast Che's shadow on the ground, and Metkai was standing in it. Metkai leaned back, almost parallel to the ground. One hand and one foot were planted for support, the other hand out for balance. His other foot shot up, aiming for Che's chin. He was putting his whole body into the kick. Shadow. Dance. Leaf. Metkai had taken off his ankle weights and was going all out, shouting the name of the technique to release the stress on his body. Bang. Che went flying, crashing down several yards away. Did I get him? Metkai watched Che, expecting to see him hurt, but he was stunned by what he saw. Ow, my hands are numb. Che waved them around like nothing had happened. Che had actually braced for Metkai's strongest attack, blocking his chin with his hands just in time. Che realized Metkai was tougher than he thought. That attack was powerful, no doubt about it. If he hadn't held back, the shadow spell would have controlled him by now. Seeing his best shot fail, Metkai was frustrated, but he quickly bounced back. Ha 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 ha. So that didn't work. Figures. Che. Guess I gotta try harder. This is youth. Che laughed too. That's right. Let's enjoy this fight. For a moment, their minds were on the same wavelength. They charged again. Metkai was unweighted, and his fists and feet were faster and stronger than ever. Che could only block, struggling to find an opening. Che forced Metkai back with a sweeping kick. As Metkai came at him again, Che's style completely changed. Is that Gentle Fist? Chapter 36 10,000 Years of Genin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I watched Che shift his stance, fists turning into open palms, ready to strike forward or backward. He lowered his body, poised to attack. Che's sudden change in tactics caught Metkai off guard. He took a flurry of hits, stumbling back to create some space. This isn't Hinata's gentle fist, Che announced, it's Uchiha's gentle hand. Metkai's eyes widened with understanding. The name Gentle Hand, however, was something Che just made up, since it was actually the gentle fist. Metkai rallied, charging forward with a powerful flying side kick, the Leaf Village whirlwind kick. It packed enough force to shatter a tree. This time, Che didn't meet force with force. He used Metkai's momentum against him, deflecting the kick with one palm while striking Metkai's torso with the other. Metkai lost his footing, staggering backward with a grunt, barely regaining his balance. Che pressed his advantage, and they traded blows up close. The gentle fist was fast and nimble, excelling at close-quarters combat. Metkai's wide, sweeping movements were hampered in such tight spaces, making it hard to deliver a full-power blow. They continued to fight, each move so rapid that Metkai couldn't break free and gain distance. Again and again, Che closed in, striking with a series of palm strikes. Metkai felt his movements growing sluggish, his strikes less effective until he was completely overwhelmed. In a final burst, Che unleashed the remaining strikes, landing all 32 trigrams palms on Metkai's body. Most of Metkai's chakra points were sealed, and he went down, unable to rise. Che had won this physical showdown. Metkai lay on his back on the rocky ground, struggling to push himself up. Che walked over and helped Metkai to his feet, simultaneously releasing the blocked chakra points. As he treated him, Che marveled at Metkai's resilience. Even after taking the full 32 trigrams palms, Metkai's chakra pathways remained strong, already showing signs of recovery. Just as I expected from Che, he's better than me at taijutsu too. Tonight's training has to be doubled. Metkai sighed, resolving to work even harder in his special training that night. Che clapped Metkai on the shoulder. Your taijutsu is strong, I respect that. You probably skipped lunch, huh? Come on, let me treat you to some barbecue. Che invited Metkai partly out of respect for his strength, and partly because he had copied Kai's moves during their fight with his Sharingan, so it was also compensation. Metkai looked embarrassed, scratching his head. I don't have much money. Che waved his hand dismissively. Don't worry about it, it's on me. Metkai remained hesitant. Che added, don't be silly. We're classmates. If you don't come, it's like you're turning me down. Che put his hands in his pockets and started to walk away, thinking Che was angry. Metkai hurried after him. I'll go, and so, they headed to barbecue heaven and indulged in a massive meal. Metkai had been hesitant before, but as soon as he smelled the barbecue, he started to dig in. He ate as much as Che, like he was starving. He knew that Metkai's father was a perpetual genin, and his family couldn't be well off. Plus, all that taijutsu training burned a lot of calories, so Metkai was probably always hungry and probably couldn't afford meat most of the time. Seeing this, Che ordered several more plates of meat, splurging on the meal. Luckily, he had just completed a mission and had some cash to spare. With the time it took to grill the meat, and their enormous appetites, the meal stretched on for over an hour. Finally, full and satisfied, they got up and left the restaurant. As soon as they stepped outside, a figure caught their eye. It was a man who looked a lot like Kai, with the same dark, bowl-cut hair, and wearing green spandex and orange leg warmers. The only difference was the man's yellow scarf. The man was running around on the street. He was chasing a kitten. Che recognized him instantly as Metkai's father, Mat Dai, and thought to himself, so he really is doing a low-level, cat-catching mission. Che watched Mat Dai with interest. Metkai felt embarrassed. In his eyes, Uchiha Che was a genius and definitely Jonin material. His father was just a small genin doing humiliating low-level missions in the streets. Metkai worried that Che would laugh at his father. To his surprise, Che asked, Hey Kai, is that your dad? Metkai nodded, and Che smiled. He's a really interesting ninja. He's powerful. Interesting. Awesome. Metkai looked at Che, suspecting he was making fun of him, but Che seemed serious. Che nodded. Yeah, an interesting ninja. Che's Sharingan let him see that Mat Dai was more than he appeared to be. He appeared to only have genin-level chakra, but his Sharingan could see anomalies in his chakra pathways. Judging by the scarring, Mat Dai had once had Jonin-level chakra. There were two possibilities. Either Mat Dai had once been a powerful Jonin, but had been injured, dropping him to Genin, or he was just a Genin who used a secret technique to temporarily become a Jonin, causing the injuries. Either way, Mat Dai wasn't the run-of-the-mill Genin everyone thought he was. Metkai was confused. His father was an ordinary Genin, without any ninjutsu talent. Mat Dai wasn't even as talented as him. When Metkai was in the academy, he could run 5,000 laps, while Matt Dai could only run 500, how could Che evaluate him like that? Matt Kai didn't get it. After parting with Che, Matt Kai went to his usual training ground to do some special training. He trained all night, leaving large holes in his wooden posts. Matt Kai's hands were in bad condition. The bandages were soaked in blood and sweat. Matt Kai was covered in sweat, but still yelled, "Punch it 5,000 times. Or do 2,000 squats. My youth will never quit." Half an hour later, Matt Kai finished his punches and sat down to rest. Matt Dai appeared, wiping the sweat from his brow and saying, "That cat was tough to catch. It got so late." Matt Dai noticed Kai's injured hands. He hadn't seen Kai train this hard in a long time. "Kai, what's wrong?" Matt Dai asked, concerned. Even though Kai didn't think his father could help him, he told him about losing to Che at his best game. Matt Dai became serious. He patted Matt Kai on the shoulder and said, "It looks like you've hit a bottleneck in your road of youth. As a father, there's only one thing I can do. Watch closely, Kai." Matt Dai walked to the open space, ready to demonstrate something. Matt Kai thought of what Che had said, "Your father is an interesting ninja, he is very powerful." "Father, isn't he a genin?" Chapter 37 8 Gates Dunjia. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mate balled up his fists, planted them on his hips, and roared. A green aura swirled around him, making his hair stand on end. Matt Kai looked stunned. "Dad, what is this?" Matt Dai replied, "The 8 Inner Gates Formation, a forbidden technique. This is the ultimate secret I've mastered through 20 years of grueling training. And now, I'm passing it on to you." That's when Matt Kai truly realized his father wasn't just some ordinary guy. He was also impressed by Che's spot-on assessment. Matt Dai continued, "The 8 Inner Gates Formation puts an incredible strain on the body. Opening the final gate of death requires burning your own life force. So, the most important thing when learning the 8 Inner Gates is self-discipline. You absolutely can't use it lightly. Kai, you have to remember, you only use the 8 Inner Gates Formation when you're ready to sacrifice your youth." Seeing his father's bloodshot eyes and flushed face, Kai knew he was serious. He nodded solemnly and promised, "I understand, Dad. I'll use the 8 Inner Gates to protect what's important to me." Matt Dai smiled, then released the 8 Inner Gates Formation. Even after only a short time using the technique, Matt Dai was gasping for air and drenched in sweat, showing the massive toll the 8 Inner Gates took on his body. Matt Dai composed himself and started teaching Kai the training methods for the 8 Inner Gates Formation. Matt Kai studied intensely. He knew this was his best shot at surpassing the prodigies. A few days later, an unexpected visitor arrived at Che's house. "Kai." Che opened the door, puzzled by Kai's sudden visit. Matt Kai said excitedly, "Che, you were right. My dad is seriously awesome." Che raised an eyebrow, intrigued. He led Matt Kai into the yard. "What makes you say that?" Matt Kai replied, "My father knows a forbidden technique called the 8 Inner Gates Formation. It boosts your strength like crazy." Matt Kai's words confirmed Che's suspicions. So, it really is the second possibility, he thought. Che had considered that the second explanation was more likely since, if it was the first, the villagers probably wouldn't be so dismissive of Matt Dai. Che activated his 6 eyes to observe Matt Kai's body, spotting energy signatures similar to his father's within him. However, Matt Kai's unique physique greatly reduced the side effects of the 8 Inner Gates, so there was almost no damage to his chakra pathways. "Have you learned the 8 Inner Gates Formation too?" Even though Che already knew the answer, he asked the question anyway. Matt Kai nodded eagerly. "I have. But I can only do the first one." Che figured that the 8 Inner Gates was a forbidden technique that gradually increased strength through 8 stages, which intrigued him. So, Che asked, "The first gate?" "There are 8 gates total." Matt Kai looked confused. "How did you know that?" Che said, "Can't you tell from the name?" Matt Kai giggled. "I didn't even think about it." After laughing, Matt Kai began to explain the 8 Inner Gates Formation in detail. There are 8 gates in total. From the first gate to the 8th gate, the strength increases gradually. They're the gate of opening, the gate of healing, the gate of life, the gate of pain, the gate of limit, the gate of view, the gate of wonder, and the gate of death. They gradually remove the body's limitations on chakra, releasing chakra beyond your natural capacity and multiplying your strength. It's said that opening the gate of death grants power exceeding that of the Hokage. But the cost of opening the gates is damage to the body. Before the gate of pain, the damage is relatively small. After the gate of pain, each gate opening causes irreversible damage, and opening any of the gates requires strong physical conditioning. Che was fascinated by such a potent forbidden technique. After all, a technique that directly boosted one's power was a huge advantage for anyone. As for the side effects, Che considered them negligible compared to the amazing benefits. Besides, there might be ways to mitigate or even eliminate them. After the explanation, Metkai looked at Che and asked, "Do you like this technique?" Che replied, "Who wouldn't be interested in such a powerful ninjutsu? I doubt there's a ninja alive who wouldn't want this." Hearing this, Metkai seemed relieved. "That's good. I came here to teach you the technique." Although Che was touched, he still asked for the reason. Metkai told him the whole story. "I told my dad what you said. When he heard you say that he was interesting and powerful, he started crying. Then he asked me to give you the technique, saying that you're his kindred spirit, the one who truly understands his passion." After hearing this, Che felt like he had lucked out big time. Those words had just been a whim, but they had resulted in an incredible forbidden technique. Che said, "I accept the technique, but I'll trade you the shuriken techniques of the Uchiha clan. It's nowhere near the 8 inner gates formation you're giving me, but I'll find a way to repay you someday." Che figured that Matt and his son weren't able to use ninjutsu or genjutsu, and that Gentle Fist was unusable without the Byakugan or 6 eyes. All he could offer was shuriken techniques. Metkai was going to refuse, but after Che insisted, he agreed to the trade. The two began teaching each other their respective techniques, while simultaneously learning the other's skill set. Metkai's talent for taijutsu was solid, and shuriken skills could be considered a physical art, so he was progressing reasonably well, however, lacking eyes as sharp as the 6 eyes or Sharingan. His technique was often right, but his aim was off, comparatively. Che's talent was on a different level. Che had never been exposed to the 8 inner gates formation, but after Metkai explained the principles, he used his 6 eyes to identify the precise location of the 8 gates within the body. After Kai demonstrated opening the first gate, Che copied it immediately with his 6 eyes. In this way, Che could easily open the gate. Of course, this was only possible because Che's physical condition was exceptional, allowing him to directly imitate the technique. The same wouldn't hold true for a more advanced technique. You could imitate the method, but your body's ability to handle it was a different story. After learning the 8 inner gates formation, Che discovered a flaw. The chakra released after opening the gates was too volatile. An ordinary person in the 8-gate state wouldn't be able to use ninjutsu, at least not complex ones. This limited the actual power of the 8 inner gates, because only taijutsu-type ninjas could fully utilize it. But Che was different. He had the almighty 6 eyes, granting him precise chakra control. Even in the chaotic state of the 8 gates, he could still manipulate chakra to perform ninjutsu. In a sense, the 6 eyes and the 8 gates were a match made in heaven. Chapter 38 Prelude to the Ninja War. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Che put in work, practicing the 8 inner gates while teaming up with everyone in Class 8. When you're busy, time flies. Before we knew it, 47 years had passed in Konoha. Che's strength had improved dramatically. He could now open the 4th gate of pain in the 8 inner gates, surpassing even Might Guy's progress. During this time, Shikaku was noticeably busier, barely having time to join Che and the others on missions. As a jonin, he couldn't be expected to babysit 3 genin on simple tasks every day. Fortunately, these 3 were no ordinary genin and could easily handle the routine stuff themselves. Che, of course, was on another level entirely. He was practically jonin level in every aspect. That's why Shikaku felt comfortable letting them handle missions independently. Asuma was doing great as well. At 11, he was already chunin level, making him a strong ninja even among chunins. His wind release, fire release, and ninjutsu training were paying off, and he could probably hold his own against weaker special jonin. Someone with Asuma's talent would be considered top tier in the village. but he didn't quite shine as brightly compared to Che, who was in a league of his own. The third member of the team, Kurenai Yuhi, was the weakest of the three. However, Kurenai's situation was unique. While her ninjutsu talent wasn't exceptional, her genjutsu talent was quite good, so she chose to specialize in illusions. Most ninjas rely more on ninjutsu for a reason. Unless you become a master of illusion, the effects are often minimal. Many ninjas can see through illusions and have ways to break them. Therefore, the mid-genin period is a challenging transition for genjutsu users. They're often not as strong as ninjutsu users and may even be outmatched by taijutsu specialists. But once you get past that hurdle and reach Jonin level, genjutsu becomes a game-changer against weaker opponents, allowing you to win against ninjas of equal skill. Kurenai's genjutsu was already chunin level, but she'd stand little chance against a standard chunin relying solely on illusions. Fortunately, under Che's guidance, she had mastered decent taijutsu and the Muji ninjutsu Rasengan. Her overall strength was comparable to an average chunin, maybe even a bit better, so, all members of Team 8 had reached at least chunin level. Taking on genin tasks was a breeze. As for why they hadn't taken the chunin exams, that was Shikaku's call. Che had originally planned to take the exams right after graduation, but they required a team of 3, so Che waited until Kurenai, the weakest of the 3, had caught up, and then asked Shikaku to sign them up, but Shikaku refused. He frowned and said seriously, "The situation isn't stable right now. It's best if you wait a bit longer. The higher the rank, the more dangerous the missions become. You're still too young. I can't let you take unnecessary risks. Just wait another year." Che understood Shikaku's concerns, but he didn't have a first-hand sense of the turmoil that Shikaku was talking about. After all, as a genin who spent all his time in Konoha and the Land of Fire, he wasn't exposed to the subtle changes happening across the ninja world, but things can change in a heartbeat. Just when you get comfortable in Konoha's long-established peace, the first signs of war appear. One day, with no mission on the schedule, Kurenai asked Che if he wanted to go shopping. Che agreed, so, the two of them strolled through Konoha's shopping district. Konoha's commerce was thriving, with stores lining the streets and a dazzling array of goods. Kurenai seemed to have endless energy when it came to shopping. She dragged Che into every store, enjoying the window shopping even if she didn't buy anything. It was hard to tell who was having more fun, Kurenai or Che. Along the way, women would occasionally tease the two, calling them a cute couple. Such a handsome guy and a beautiful girl, a perfect match. That this always made Kurenai blush, and she would quickly try to explain, but the women would just laugh and run off, leaving her frustrated. She would eventually give Che a playful punch on the arm to vent her anger. Che would say he didn't feel a thing. Seeing that Che wasn't playing along, Kurenai would pout and turn her head away. Che chuckled, then spotted a flower shop and said, "Let me buy you some flowers." Hearing this, Kurenai instantly dropped the act and looked surprised, but seeing Che's knowing smile, she tried to compose herself and simply said, "Okay." With a smile on his face, Che led Kurenai into the flower shop. They looked around. The shop wasn't huge, but it was well stocked and tidy. Flowers of every color filled the space, both inside and out, giving the whole place a sweet fragrance. "Welcome to Yamanaka Flower Shop. What kind of flowers are you looking for?" A young, brown-haired woman asked with a smile. She stood behind the counter, looking elegant and composed. Che replied, "Could you help me put together a bouquet? It's for her." Che gestured towards Kurenai, who was admiring the flowers. The woman asked, "Does she have any preferences?" Kurenai snapped back to reality and said, "Not really. Just something pretty." The woman came out from behind the counter and said, "Let me recommend a few, then." The woman led Kurenai to a display of pre-arranged bouquets and began introducing them. Roses, of course, are a classic gift for sweethearts. We have red, pink, yellow, purple, white, and many other varieties. Kurenai couldn't help but blush again at the mention of sweethearts. Seeing her reaction, the woman smiled and continued, "Then there are lilies, which symbolize purity and harmony, and are a good choice for friends and family." Kurenai nodded. Just then, a man with long, yellow hair and a ponytail wearing a jonin vest walked out from the back of the shop. He looked at Che and Kurenai and said, "You two look familiar. Are you Shikaku's students?" Che and Kurenai immediately knew they were talking to an older ninja, so they bowed slightly. The man said, "Don't be so formal. We're all family here. I recognized you too because I saw you with Shikaku when Choji took you out for barbecue last time. You seemed to be having a good time, so I didn't want to interrupt. I just said hello to Shikaku. By the way, I'm Yamanaka Haichi, and this is my wife, Yamanaka Sahi. Shikaku and I have been teammates for years." Only then did Yamanaka Haichi remember to introduce himself and his wife, who was the owner of the flower shop. When Che and Kurenai heard that Haichi was a friend of their teacher, Shikaku, they instantly became more friendly. Haichi smiled and said, "All right, I need to head out. Sahi can help you pick out the flowers. She has great taste." Haichi was about to leave when suddenly, several sounds of crying drifted in from outside, growing louder as they approached. Everyone in the shop was taken aback. A moment later, a group of people wearing pure black funeral kimonos walked through the door. Many of them were already crying. Yamanaka Haichi looked at the body being carried inside and murmured, "Is that him? He was transferred to Kumogakure's defense line just a few days ago. Has he already fallen? It seems that there will be casualties even if Yellow Flash is around." Haichi's words made Che suddenly realize that war was on the horizon. The ninja world was in a tense state, with local conflicts erupting in certain areas. Some people said this was the beginning of the ninja war. In the northeast of the Land of Fire, Cloud Village ninjas from the Land of Lightning often intruded into the territory, putting Konoha's border defense under immense pressure. Fortunately, Minato Namikaze had already made a name for himself as the Yellow Flash. He was said to have single-handedly repelled the Raikage Sun and the eight-tailed Jinchuriki a few days ago, but even so, that couldn't change the cruel fact that for ordinary ninjas, border disputes weren't a path to fame, but a potential death trap. "Sahi, please make us 2 bouquets of white chrysanthemums," Kurenai whispered. Chapter 39 Shisui and Itachi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yuhi Hong's good mood vanished when she heard the mournful sounds outside. Instead, she asked Zhao to pick some white chrysanthemums. Together, Hong and Che took the bouquet to the cemetery where the ninja who died defending the border were buried. To pay their respects, one of Yamanaka Hai's wives commented, "Those two are really good kids." Zhao nodded in agreement. After laying the flowers, Che and Hong parted ways. As Che returned to the Uchiha compound, he was stopped by some familiar faces. Che thought it was Uchiha Copperfire and the others, calling him bro. These former Ninja Academy troublemakers had matured into competent Konoha genin. Copperfire and Ironfire were among the strongest. "What's up?" Che asked, noticing their expressions. They looked like they had something to say. Fugaku's wife had her baby, and everyone's gathered around the compound, wanting to see it, Copperfire explained, piquing Che's interest. "Let's go then." Hearing this, Copperfire and the others happily followed Che to the clan head's house. A large crowd was gathered outside the compound, eager to celebrate the birth, speculating about whether it was a boy or a girl. Finally, Fugaku emerged with a joyful expression. "My wife has given birth to a son," he announced. "We've named him Uchiha Itachi." People rushed forward, handing over gifts of money in white envelopes, hoping to curry favor with the clan leader's family. Someone shouted, "What a great name! He'll definitely grow up as strong as the clan leader and bring glory to the Uchiha." "Yeah, yeah." Everyone echoed, but Copperfire whispered to Che, "Itachi. Isn't that just a weasel? Aren't those bad luck?" In traditional beliefs, the ferret is indeed an animal symbolizing mystery and misfortune. Che smiled. Weasels are actually powerful predators. They're agile, fast, and fierce. They're small, but they can take down prey much larger than themselves. Maybe the clan leader chose the name hoping his son will inherit those traits. Copperfire scratched his head, still not getting it. There were plenty of fierce predators out there. Why name him Weasel? Uchiha Wolf or Uchiha Tiger would have been cooler. Still, Copperfire joined the chorus. What a name! What a name! By the time the crowd dispersed, it was dark. Che presented Fugaku with a congratulatory gift, not much money, just a token. The clan leader wasn't exactly hurting for cash. Fugaku accepted it with a smile, patting Che on the shoulder. Stay for dinner. It's just a small family gathering. Che bowed respectfully, expressing his gratitude. Being invited to the family dinner amid all the well-wishers showed how highly they regarded him. Che sent a shadow clone to Yuhi Hong's house to let her know he wouldn't be joining her for dinner, and then followed Fugaku to help clean up the yard. All the visitors had made quite a mess. You still haven't awakened your Sharingan, have you? Fugaku asked casually. Che replied as he tidied up the yard, I'm ashamed to say I haven't. Fugaku said, don't be. Awakening the Sharingan requires specific conditions. It often happens after witnessing tragic events, like losing loved ones, when you're overcome with grief. That's why the Sharingan is sometimes called the cursed eye. Besides, you've always been mature, thoughtful, and stable. It might be harder for someone like you to activate it. Che found Fugaku's explanation strange. Why is the way to awaken the Sharingan so weird? The Hyuga next door can just learn hand seals to control chakra. Confused, Che asked, Clan leader, could you show me your Sharingan? Fugaku stopped what he was doing and turned to face Che, meeting his gaze. Instantly, Fugaku's black eyes transformed. The black pupils turned blood red, with 3 black tomo swirling around them, giving him a sharp, serious look. Che's 6 eyes flickered, immediately grasping the Sharingan's secret. The Sharingan's chakra is connected to a specific part of the brain. The secret must lie there. Too bad I can't directly see what that brain area does. I could unlock the Sharingan's mystery right away. Guess I'll have to do more research after I awaken my own. Che thought to himself. Fugaku deactivated his Sharingan. Just then, another guest arrived. A young boy with short, curly black hair entered, holding a congratulatory gift. He bowed to Fugaku. Sorry I'm late, Uncle Fugaku. I was training at the practice ground. It's alright, just glad you could make it, Fugaku said kindly, accepting the gift. Stay for dinner, too. Then, Fugaku turned to Che. Che, this is Uchiha Shisui, a descendant of Kagami-sama, who served as the second Hokage's guard. Shisui, this is the Uchiha Che you've heard so much about. Fugaku then introduced Che to Shisui. Uchiha Che's reputation as a genius was something every young ninja admired. Shisui said respectfully to Che, hello, bro Che. Che returned the greeting, hello. Fugaku smiled, looking at the two of them. You two are the future of the Uchiha. From now on, I'm counting on you to look after my Itachi. Che and Shisui both acknowledged the request. Fugaku led Che and Shisui inside. Several servants were attending to Uchiha Mikoto, who had just given birth, and Uchiha Itachi. Che and Shisui first greeted Mikoto and then, led by Fugaku, went to the crib to see the newborn. So, that's what a newborn looks like, Shisui said, gazing at the oblivious Uchiha Itachi. Che wasn't particularly interested in babies, but Shisui seemed to like it. Fugaku stared at Itachi, his sharp gaze replaced by a father's tenderness and hope. The three of them shared a family dinner. While eating, Fugaku said to Che, Shisui just entered the ninja academy. He's doing great, just like you did. Shisui demurred, but Che said, well, being excellent is normal for members of the Uchiha clan, right? You're right, Lord Fugaku. Che's words not only put Shisui at ease but also flattered Fugaku, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The three laughed, creating a harmonious atmosphere. After dinner, Che returned home and began his training, staying up late into the night. Chapter 40 Past Life Dream. You are listening at novelfull.audio. General. Those 2 freaks are here, and they're demanding to fight in front of the Emperor. That it was the 9th year of Keicho. In Edo, Japan, a samurai in full armor burst into the shogunate, shouting in a panic as he ran. The elderly shogun, Tokugawa Ieyasu, waved his hands, his voice trembling. Get Hidetada in here. I want to live a little longer. Tokugawa Ieyasu, appointed general to conquer the barbarians and right minister by the emperor, was, in reality, the supreme authority in Japan, having effectively sidelined the emperor, but this powerful man was now clearly terrified. The two freaks the warrior mentioned were simply beyond mortal control. A fight between them could be devastating, as people often do as they get older. Tokugawa Ieyasu valued his life above all else. He quickly ordered his son to host the competition on his behalf. The future second-generation shogun, Tokugawa Hidetada, while equally afraid of death, dared not disobey his father. So, surrounded by his soldiers, he reluctantly ventured outside the city. Well, the Tokugawa family sent someone. Too bad it's not old man Ieyasu himself. Doesn't matter. Let's get this show on the road. The voices seemed to come from the sky. Tokugawa Hidetada and his entourage looked up, awestruck, as if beholding gods. Both men were strikingly handsome. One had long black hair, tied back loosely, wearing a kimono as black as night, his black eyes like bottomless pits. This man stood atop a monstrous harpy, urging the other to begin their battle. The second man replied flippantly, "Hold your horses." Equally handsome, his aura was completely different. His white hair was cut short, a style unusual for the time. His eyes were sapphire blue, as bright and dazzling as a starry night. Dressed in a flowing white kimono, he stood in the air as if it were the most natural thing in the world, a perpetual smile playing on his lips, the kind of man women instantly fell for. In the world of magic, the Gosen families passed down family techniques through their bloodline. The Zenin family is known for its 10 shadows technique, while the Gojo family boasts the limitless technique and the 6 eyes. Traditionally, these families coexisted peacefully, alternating as the dominant force. But, unexpectedly, this era saw the simultaneous birth of a 10 shadows user and a 6 eyes user with limitless abilities. This unprecedented situation sparked a fierce rivalry between the families, culminating in a duel before the emperor to determine which family would reign supreme. Tokugawa Hidetada spoke, his face etched with worry. The world of magic was hidden from plain sight, but Japan's secular leaders knew of its existence. After all, how else could mortals rule if the sorcerers hadn't intended to be separate from the secular world? Hidetada explained the situation, clearly concerned. As the heir to the Edo shogunate, he didn't want to die young. He quickly ordered his soldiers to form a protective ring around him, hoping to shield him from harm. The white-haired one is Gojo Kong, and the black-haired one is Zenin Yo. Keep them in sight. Don't let them accidentally hit me. Gojo Kong, hearing this from above, chuckled. You haven't even pitched a tent. Planning to level Edo? Besides, I need these guys below as witnesses when I beat your butt. Zenin Yo scowled. You've got it backward. They'll be witnessing my victory. The verbal sparring had begun. Simultaneously, they each formed hand seals. Born from darkness to darkness, filth and filthiness, all exorcism, that with the incantation, a massive black barrier erupted outside Edo, enclosing an area almost the size of the city itself. Within this barrier was a smaller, translucent one, protecting Tokugawa Hidetada and his soldiers. These barriers served to keep outsiders away and insiders in, with extremely strong defenses. Only the two most powerful figures in the world could conjure such potent barriers. Alright, let's get started. Gojo Kong pointed, issuing his challenge. Zenin Yo's expression darkened. He made a series of hand shadows, then roared, "Eat this." Point 10 shadows technique, elephant overflow. A gigantic, fleshy pink elephant covered in patterns materialized above Gojo Kong. It was a shikigami, summoned by Zenin Yo using shadow as a medium. Its size and weight dwarfed any normal elephant, possessing the raw power of ancient beasts. Boom, star. Gojo Kong was slammed to the ground, the elephant's sheer weight and the force of the fall creating a huge fissure in the earth, sending dust billowing into the sky, but it wasn't over. With a deafening trumpeting sound, a torrent of water erupted from the elephant's trunk, sweeping everything before it. The space inside the barrier was instantly flooded. If not for the barrier's protection, Edo itself would have been underwater. Zenin Yo quickly recalled the elephant and directed the harpy-faced new monster beneath him to swoop down. 10 shadows technique, new. Zenin Yo leapt into the air as New plunged downward, crackling with arcs of purple electricity. New crashed into the water with a deafening splash, the electricity spreading in a dazzling, purple-lit wave. Seeing this, Zenin Yo changed his hand gestures again, this time forming a snake. 10 shadows technique, Orochi. Zenin summoned a colossal serpent, landing gracefully on its back. At the same time, Nu snatched Gojo Kong in its claws and hurled him skyward. The massive, sky-swallowing serpent, dozens of meters long, immediately engulfed Gojo Kong whole, but then, something strange happened. A faint red light emanated from the serpent's mouth, then its entire head exploded, leaving Gojo Kong unharmed. You haven't improved much since we were kids. The Gojo and Zenin families had once been close, and the two men had sparred often in their youth. You learned reversal. Zenin was clearly shocked. He knew his previous attacks wouldn't break through the limitless defense, they were merely meant to trap Gojo Kong. He hadn't expected Gojo Kong to master the reversal technique, allowing him to destroy one of his Shikigami. Damn it. You can't use a domain while maintaining the barrier. Both domains and barriers were forms of isolation, incompatible with each other. Meaning, if you're within a domain, you can't maintain an external barrier. If you can't use a domain, let's just stick to sorcery. Time to show off. Gojo Kong said, pointing two fingers at the Nu still circling in the air. Reversal, red. Boom, a gaping hole appeared in Nu's body, and it plummeted to the ground, dissolving into shadow. 2 down. Gojo Kong's smile widened, as if victory was already his. Enraged, Zenin channeled all his magical energy, his hands a blur as he formed a rapid succession of shadow puppets. Toad. Rabbit. Elephant overflow. Round deer. Max elephant. Ox charge. Zenin mastery of the 10 shadows was undeniable, pushing each Shikigami to its limit. Even weaker creatures like the toad and rabbit were used to confuse and hinder. For Shikigami with limited range, such as the toad, Zenin pumped them with mana, forcing them into a berserk state to increase their power and reach, but no matter how hard Zenin fought, he couldn't overcome the difference in raw power. The Shikigami couldn't penetrate the absolute defense of the limitless technique, and Gojo Kong systematically destroyed them with red and blue. In the end, only Round Deer, who used the reversal technique to restore the night, and the heavily armored Ox Charge, remained. Ox Charge braced itself, preparing for its final, devastating sprint. The farther the Ox Charge ran, the greater the damage it could inflict. But instead of dodging, Gojo Kong charged straight toward it. Blue. Gojo Kong activated the limitless defense while simultaneously using blue to pull himself toward the rampaging Ox Charge. Man and beast collided head-on, the magical energy unleashing a devastating shockwave that shook the earth. The earthquake was felt throughout Edo. When the dust settled, Gojo Kong stood victorious. He looked at Zenin and said, "Give it up. It's not like this is the first time you've lost to me." Zenin knelt on the ground, the battle having taken a heavy toll. He touched Round Deer, releasing the Shikigami's magic. Ox Charge had been defeated, and in his current state, other methods were useless. Suddenly, Zenin looked up, a crazed expression on his face. "If I can't beat you, then we'll die together." Gojo Kong was shocked. "Are you insane?" He knew that one Shikigami among the 10 shadows had never been tamed by any Zenin family member. Furubura Yura. Subduing a Shikigami required a special ceremony, performable by one or more people. A single person could successfully tame the Shikigami. Multiple participants, however, would invalidate the ritual. If the Shikigami killed the participant, the ritual was also rendered ineffective. Zenin had begun the final taming ceremony of the 10 shadows. A towering humanoid Shikigami rose from the shadows, a roulette wheel spinning behind it. Demon Exorcist General, wielding 8 swords and strange rings, had arrived. "Ha ha 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 ha. I'm going first. Try and keep up." Bang. Moxaluo backhanded Zenin aside, leaving him unconscious. Moxaluo turned its gaze to Gojo Kong, then slammed its foot on the ground and charged. Gojo Kong sensed Moxaluo's immense power and muttered, "Zenin, you guys are even crazier than me when it comes to fighting." Reversal technique, blue. Gojo Kong used his old trick, using blue's attraction to pull himself toward Moxaluo. The speed was so great it was akin to teleportation. Boom. Edo experienced its second earthquake of the day. Moxaluo was sent flying, its chest caved in from the impact, but Moxaluo righted itself, and the wheel on its back spun, instantly healing its injuries. Gojo Kong didn't give Moxaluo a chance to recover, striking again with the same attack. the third earthquake in Edo. This time, Gojo Kong was sent hurtling through the air, like a kite with a broken string. The limitless has been breached? Gojo Kong was horrified. He hadn't imagined anything besides a domain expansion could break through his limitless defense. Gojo Kong's white kimono was stained red with his blood, his internal organs a shredded mess. Fortunately, he was able to use the reversal technique to instantly heal his wounds. Gojo Kong's expression was grim. He suspected the roulette wheel behind Moxaluo had something to do with it. Moxaluo charged again, but this time, Gojo Kong didn't dare to confront it head-on. Maximizing the power of the reversal technique, Moxaluo was ripped from the ground, drawn into the sky. At the same time, the earth was also pulled upward, the ground shattered under the immense strain, and rocks of all sizes began to coalesce, enveloping Moxaluo. Gojo Kong flew up, intending to seize the roulette wheel, but after Moxaluo struggled in vain, the wheel spun again. Gojo Kong realized something was wrong and retreated. Boom. The rocks exploded, and Moxaluo landed unharmed. It's adapting. It can adapt to anything. Gojo Kong's scalp tingled. Overwhelmed by the pressure, his battle-maniac persona resurfaced. Ha 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 ha. This is amazing. A Shikigami like this exists. Zenin yo. You really left me a big surprise. Gojo Kong extended two fingers and aimed at Moxaluo. Since it could adapt to attacks, he'd defeat it with a single, overwhelming strike before it could adapt. Maximum output reversal technique, red. The red light surged in Gojo Kong's hand, then shot out. Moxaluo was struck, sent flying by the repulsive force, and smashed into the barrier. Cracks appeared all over the barrier. Moxaluo collapsed. Gojo Kong instantly flew above it, unleashing a barrage of powerful attacks, his 6 eyes allowing him near-zero energy consumption. Spells like red could be cast almost indefinitely. The earth was shrouded in dust, illuminated only by flashes of red light. Suddenly, an attack was deflected, striking the barrier on the opposite side and causing severe damage. Then, Gojo Kong was sent flying. Moxaluo had adapted to red, bursting from the ground and striking Gojo Kong with a punch. Gojo Kong flew out, crashing into the other side of the barrier. Guess I have to try that trick. Despite the blood on his face, Gojo Kong couldn't hide his excitement. He'd never had so much fun fighting. Within the Gojo family, there was a technique known only to the top members, because no one had ever truly used it. This move was called Hollow Purple. The principle behind Hollow Purple was to combine the negative infinity of the reversal technique with the positive infinity of the normal technique, causing them to clash, generating a mass of imaginary energy. However, the consequences of combining two infinites were unpredictable and incredibly difficult to control, so this technique existed only in theory, and Gojo Kong intended to make it a reality. He held out his palm, a grin on his face. If this fails, I'm dead. Immense magical power coalesced in Gojo Kong's hand, two infinites with completely opposite properties beginning to collide. Imaginary technique, Hollow Purple. Moxaluo charged. Just before the impact, Gojo Kong laughed. Looks like I failed. Let's die together. Ha 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 ha. Moxaluo impaled Gojo Kong with his sword, but at that moment, the uncontrolled energy of the colliding infinites erupted. Terrified, Moxaluo scrambled back. With a deafening roar, a strange black light burst from Gojo Kong, swallowing him instantly and silently. Then, the black light shifted into a swirling vortex of purple, red, and blue. The purple light annihilated everything in its path. Moxaluo, the unconscious Zenin-yo, the barrier, and a vast section of the land itself. The translucent barrier shattered. Tokugawa Hidetada and his men were thrown to the ground by the shockwave, utterly terrified. After a long silence, Tokugawa Hidetada asked, Are they finished? A samurai replied, the head of the Gojo family seems to have died alongside the head of the Zenin family. In the middle of the night, Che woke up from his dream. I'm not dead. A 4,000-word chapter.